The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris,
He's making this weird face at
you heard what the president said there, because
that face she's making is not going to work.
Yeah, like I'm glad you noticed that. She's there making faces, and he's talking about like baseline stuff, which is like he says cereal, bacon, and eggs. Like
right. I eat bacon and eggs. I haven't had cereal in a while. My kids eat cereal though.
Well, I personally don't eat swine,
he ended up
like some cereal and some eggs. I can work with that.
Prove and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window.
She's
going
right.
to my philosophy now.
She's making a face again.
She's gone to my philosophy. If she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21.
Right. Let's pause for a second. We got to have a little commentary. Facial remarks from Kamala Harris. Like, what's going on here, guys?
Well, that's why.
Body language wise, do you want me to go ahead and use my actual psychology gift in mind, or my doc psychology gift in mind? I mean, I can use one.
Well, hold on. Andre was jumping in there first. Give me 1 second. Andre was in there.
Yeah,
Andre, go ahead.
The reason why I was asking for a pause was that, like, if you were looking at her facial expressions and like her hand expressions and that kind of shit, like if you looked at the shit that she was doing this while he was talking. Like, and if you noticed, while she was talking, Trump wasn't doing this shit. But while she gets to do this stuff and like gets to get away with this kind of stuff, right?
Well, Trump has like a straight business-like face. Trump just has a very clean, like normal face. And I want to just do this really quickly to get back to the show. But Mr. O, really quickly, thoughts on her facial expressions?
All right, so basically she got that screwed up. I'm kind of nervous, but I think I'm gonna say the right things. Or if I don't, they're just gonna ride with me anyway. Look at Orange Man. That's her type of. She's face is showing what she's thinking.
It's a little bit like she's almost like above it, like she thinks she's better than him or something. But anyway, back to the debate.
West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country.
I remember that, Governor.
Because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, We were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it.
Just like with immigration, no one really ever voted on abortion on a state level or even a federal level. And so now we have this abortion thing, because abortion really happened through decree of the court. And so now that people can vote on it, it makes it more of a relevant thing. At least you get to make a relevant, like a civic choice.
The United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that.
They always try to drag these rare, probably non-existent abortion scenarios. Have you seen the commercials where like this mother and her daughter are in the car and they get pulled over by a sheriff? And he starts questioning the teenage girl, like, so how far along are you? Where are you going with this baby?
The bitch just got to watching Lifetime before she got to watching come up to debate Trump. That's exactly what you just came up with. A script like that, you have to put right there on the Lifetime movie network or something like that, Joe. Look,
you don't even have to watch Lifetime, bro. They already have the story in their heads. The Lifetime movie's been happening for so often, like they just know that story. As soon as, like, I guarantee you, if you talk to any woman or even male at this point about debate, they start telling you some sob story about this one girl with a terrible situation. And it's always some bullshit. But let's get back to the debate.
Everybody wanted, Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states. And the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no. I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto it?
That's what's up. That is what's up. The issue has been taken over by the states. And shout out to you, Georgia Swan. I appreciate you. We're doing this show kind of because of you, Georgia, just because you supported the show last time around, and I didn't really notice all the support that came through. So after I quit the show and I noticed that everybody, there was some support, I said, you know what? I got to support my supporters. And so we're back at it. Shout out to you, Georgia. Appreciate you being here, love.
Us, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost. to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it.
Pause here? Can you pause here?
Go, got it. Quickly, though.
So, real quick. It's just like I've listened to the left hardcore lefties. I'm talking about like the BBT niggas and the code breaker niggas. I'm talking about them niggas and like amongst others, because there's worse than that. And even they had to agree that Trump is not anti-abortion, but he fucked up this argument right now by not mentioning that he's not anti-abortion. He's anti-fucking do whatever you want to do, because typically they make the argument, it was what if a chick was to get raped and stuff, and he should have stood on that shit. So he's
well, think about it like this, bro. Trump actually didn't do anything for or against abortion. All he did was put the Supreme Court in play, and they put abortion back to the states. It's a voting thing for the states now. Trump has no bearing on it.
Who are working one or two jobs,
genius maneuver, though,
who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs, barely can afford to do it. And what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later.
IVF is actually an issue that weakens him with his base, because in the procedure for IVF, in vitro fertilization, test tube babies or whatever, they actually have to literally fertilize dozens of embryos in order to make one pregnancy. And the rest of the embryos that they fertilize, they discard. So technically they're making babies and then killing them. His base doesn't really appreciate that kind of thing. Mr. O, you wanted to jump in there a second ago.
Now, you heard her argument talking about, these poor women, they got to go ahead and travel to another state. They can't afford to sit next to strangers. Wait a minute, how you think they got into that situation? Don't these bitches get flown out? Don't they ask for strangers to go ahead and fly them out to get busted wide open, to get said baby to get put inside them so that you could go ahead and legislate so they go ahead and delete said baby? And
of course they do. Of course they do.
I think there might be a slight misunderstanding here, or maybe it's me misunderstanding the scenario. But apparently Trump, when he was asked on the question of IVF, they were acting like he's against it, and he's just I'm not against it, but I'm pretty much that's not going to be my first choice. But if if you're in that circumstance, then yeah, I'm all for it. And he was talking about he was trying to put funding towards that. But he's not trying to support the whole I'm strong and independent. Is just if you were in a proper circumstance and it came to that, then it's he's not against it.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's against it, but again, his base doesn't like it. That's a different issue.
Flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks
Black
about
people love his
characters
rallies.
like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is
You're
you.
trying to
You will
roast.
not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
She's
Vice
talking
President
about the
Harris,
gays.
President Trump, on that
She's
point,
talking
I
to
wanna
the
give you a
gays.
Well, I would
response.
like to respond.
Let me just
to
ask, though,
Immigrants.
why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the board.
In the
Let me
hood
respond
and
to the
ratchet, you
rallies.
forgot the
She
music.
said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a
You can't
different
roast
light.
Trump.
So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the
With that
biggest
face
rallies,
again.
the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because
Trump
they're so
knows the names
embarrassed
of
by
the
it.
towns.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as
Look at her face
rallies are
again.
concerned, as far as
They're
the
eating
reason
the
they go is they
dogs.
like what I
Yes,
say.
let's
They want to
fucking
bring
go.
our
Talk
country
about
back.
dogs.
They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here.
Well-
You bring up Springfield,
Hold on,
Ohio,
hold on.
and
Hold on.
ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well,
All
I've seen
this.
people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
Yeah, they eat
television
some
saying my
dogs,
dog was
nigga.
taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people are
I'm
on
taking
And you're
it from
television
the
lying
city
saying
about
my
manager.
it.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
They was
Again, the
eating
Springfield
it.
city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
Talk
gonna
about
lose, though.
extreme.
Yes.
You
This
know,
could be a national story
this is,
now.
I think, one of the reasons why
Now
in
you
this
have to talk
election,
about the
I
dogs
actually
on the
have the
national news.
endorsement
This
of
morning,
200
tomorrow morning, they're going to
Republicans
talk about the
who
dogs
have
on the news.
formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney.
Let's stop for a second. Hold on. Here's the question. Lion 917 says, why didn't he bring up Colorado? Because truth be told, we care more about dogs than people in America. Generally speaking, your average person cares more about a random dog being murdered than a random person being murdered. I'm sorry. It's just the way we are in America, right? And so when he says they're eating the dogs, it almost goes without saying that that dog is someone's pet, because we don't just have like
What?
dogs
You forgot
roaming the
about-
country,
What?
right? We don't have packs of dogs like in some South American country or some African nation. Like almost every dog you see in America belongs to someone, or he used to very recently.
Every damn near every dog is a service dog.
They always say like a dog is a man's best friend, right? So which would be a dog, and like typically like people
Until you
in
meet
general-
a woman.
well,
Until that
people
dog
in
meets a
gen-
woman with peanut butter.
People in general, especially white people, but people in general, like they consider their pets to be like part of the family, right? So if you got like these Haitian niggas coming through and fucking just eating your family members, like you're gonna be tight about that shit.
Well, no, and see, here's the thing. SKC says he shouldn't have said the pet thing, bad move. Even if it's true, it will spin badly. I disagree. No, I think it's one of those inflammatory things that there are pictures of Haitians walking around with the wildlife in Ohio, right? And I played some of the video. I don't know if you saw some of the stream I did the other day, SKC, but I was on this story immediately, and the reports are coming out. There are like obviously just reports. There's no confirmed incident, but I did play a video of a woman eating a cat, and the police actually approached her and he was like, "What are you doing? Why'd you do that?" Like the cops actually and I'm not saying she was a Haitian immigrant, but this did happen in Ohio. So someone was actually filmed on police body cam eating a cat, SKC. People are shocked, morally shocked by these kinds of things. But anyway, back to the debate.
It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country, and they're now in the United States. And
he did mention Colorado,
their
honestly.
countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime
Trump's
in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities.
Liars.
They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you.
Yes, y'all been lying about the numbers.
I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
What a bad weed.
And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law.
This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
Businesses address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York.
Live, please.
And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump,
She has
thank you.
a loser
A really quick
face.
response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
She looks
Well, let's
like she's
talk about
losing.
extreme and understand the
Every
context in
time
which
he
this
talks.
election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the
That's some
Department of
bullshit.
Justice against
Yeah,
his
like,
political
can we
enemies.
pause on that?
Someone
Can we
who
pause
has
on that?
openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris.
He was
Thank you.
already
Lindsey.
in the White
Vice
House.
President
He was
Harris,
good.
your last run for
What the
president.
hell is she talking
Well,
about?
We got
This
live
is the
video.
one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably
Whoa,
took a
whoa,
bullet to
hold-
the head
hold-
because of
pause on that.
the things that they say about me. They talk about
Yeah.
democracy. I'm a threat
was
to
your
democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get-
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsey?
You don't
Vice
want to
President
talk about
Harris,
his
in your last run for
assassination.
president,
Talk
you said
about
you
the
wanted to
bullet
ban
that tried to
fracking.
get him.
Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault
Talk
weapons.
about the
Now your
nigga they had to
campaign
kill,
says you
man.
don't.
Talk about
You
the
supported
rooftop shooter.
decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil.
So that
We
means
have
you're against
had the
fracking.
largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved
Your mother
and was
wasn't
able
black,
to buy our
though.
first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that
hater.
I bring to my work to say we are
Hating
going
ass
to
bitch.
work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes
Her whole career, she been a hater.
term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on longstanding work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of all, I wasn't
Talk
given
about emotional
$400
strength.
million.
That's
I wish I
gross, man.
was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions.
Kamala
And
doesn't
when
talk
people
about
see
her
it, they
daddy.
are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking,
Kamala
she's been against
daddy
it for
don't like
12
her.
years. Defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
He dropped her bars on
She
her.
went out.
Oh, shit. He stole her
She went
bars.
out in
Oh,
Minnesota
shit.
and wanted to let criminals that killed
Trump
people,
just cooked
that
me.
burned
I
down
want to say
Minneapolis.
something.
She went out and raised money
Yo,
to get
look
them
at
out
her
of jail.
goofy ass face,
She did
though.
things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal
No.
that would do this. She wants to
Yo.
confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll.
Yo, I take it back. I wasn't interested earlier. I'm glad I watched it now. I'm glad I was here to witness this, because he is smacking her down.
Yeah,
He's
like-
smacking her.
Like Hood, like
He's cooking her.
Hood,
He's smoking her like this damn blunt I got in my
Real,
hand.
real quickly, one at a time. Go ahead,
Hey,
Dre.
Andre 420, did you
Well, I was saying, like, that's why I brought it up in your chat, because, like, I knew this was going to be a thing. I knew it was going to be a thing. That's why I brought it up, because I already know, like, Trump was going to cook her, because, like, you don't understand. It's like, Trump, like, he got, like, a lot of support over here, especially for that, like, that last, like, little bit they were talking about when we were talking about fracking, because it was, like, oil and gas is, like, huge here. And,
I know, bro. Especially Pennsylvania is crazy. The Midwest, I mean, not the Midwest, but like, you know, the Appalachians, all the way out to Ohio, the gas thing. I mean, there's gas fields all over, honestly. But yeah, Trump is. Hey, Mr. O, quickly. I know you wanted to jump in there too, because I want to get back to the debate.
Only thing I was gonna say is Andre said, you know, for the animal lovers, specifically the dog lovers out there, you know, he said a dog's a man's best friend. It's also a woman's best friend when you put peanut butter in a situation. But let's continue with the presidential debate.
Pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in. She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington.
Well, damn, I guess I'm running the show for right now till he'll come back on. Damn, hold on. Let me see if I can go ahead and share my screen, bring it to
It's a bill. The border is closed. All he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you quote, lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
that.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval.
Yeah,
I got
Trump
almost
is still
75
out there.
million
Okay.
votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges.
Oh, you should bump the volume up on your mic a little
We
bit.
didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisper.
Trump
So
just sounds like he means business. Kamala sounds like a cheerleader most of the time.
President Biden,
and that's even being polite. She just doesn't sound like
something that's
on
come in
it.
the last couple of days. This was a post
She's
from
always
President
rehearsed.
Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win,
She can't wing it.
and then he lists donors, voters, election officials. He says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which
I
will
don't even
include
think she can't
long-term
wing
prison
it. She doesn't
sentences.
have real
One of
passion.
your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let
I mean, she
Donald Trump
can't wing it,
intimidate
but
us.
it's also
We won't let
mostly, I
him
think she just
suppress the
doesn't have
vote."
fire.
Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
She needs some vodka. She
Donald Trump
needs a
was
drink.
fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as vice president of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate the temperament
The sisters
or
are gonna love
the
that little bit,
ability
bro.
to not be confused.
Oh, the sisters
about
and
fact.
all the
That's
liberals
deeply
and feminazis
troubling,
gonna
and the
say he
American
was,
people
very
deserve
misogynist
better.
in this, debate
I'll give you
because
1
he
minute to
was
respond, Mr.
strong.
President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart, Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that, but he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe. And
no one really can imagine being afraid of Kamala or Biden for that matter. Like, he's an old man who can barely keep his piss in his pocket. Like he's a doddering old man who probably wears a diaper, and Kamala is just like a girl who somehow wound up in this job that's way above her head.
I really don't think you could find a politician in any part of DC that could hold this man right here. I don't even think Gavin Newsom. I don't even think who's anybody they want to go ahead and try to nominate, or anybody that try to go against this man. They can't. And I'm not even trying to be a dick rider right now, but he is smoking her like to Kingdom Come. Let's continue with the debate, man.
Yeah, Fisherman, do you have something to say before we get back to you really quickly? Let me back to the debate.
I'm fine.
Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent
I already
civilians.
know I'm going to hate this.
You said
Both
that
of them.
9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time,
I'm going to really
way,
not comment so
she
much
hates the
on the
Arab
Israel part.
population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs,
Wow.
Jewish people,
Wow.
Israel will be gone.
Wow.
It would have never happened. Iran
Wow.
was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took
That
off
is
all
true.
the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done.
I'm telling you, Kamala has an iPhone earpiece. She got one of those earbuds. Kamala has one of those earbuds, and I'm telling you.
I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known
There will never be a
that
two-state solution.
Donald Trump
by the way.
is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known
Trump is good with all
that
the
these
shooters out there.
dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear.
All the shooters
they
love
can
Trump.
manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that
I
caused
will
it,
say this for
that's weak
Kamala.
on
She's not
national
doing the
security
word
by
salad
allowing
bullshit
every
tonight.
nation last month for the year, 168 different countries
Definitely not
sending
drunk.
people into our country. Their crime rates are way down.
Yeah, I mean, to win over like the
Putin
general
endorsed her
public, you
last
really
week,
don't have to,
said, I hope she wins. And I think he
do
meant
that
it,
amazing. Of
because
course.
what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't.
Say that again, Fisherman.
You to win over the general public, you really don't have to be like an amazing debater at this. Like neither one of them are saying anything very specific. It's all pretty vague. Like it's just the general public.
Trump is more direct. Trump is more direct.
I mean,
in
he's
his
better
attack, mentioning specific things.
Most people are not going to watch this. They're just going to look for the little sound bites, and all they need is just like a few dunking on him moments for a lot of people to be like, "Oh, that's."
She doesn't have any good ones so far. I mean, maybe we cut her off sometime, but she doesn't really have any good ones. Trump has been dunking on her left and right, though. But let's get back to it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it looks like they're on a break. So, Mr. O, you want to jump in there real quick?
Yo, again, who put her in this position to get smoked like this? I mean, someone out there thought like this was a bright idea by putting this supposedly DEI appointed. I mean, she hit all quotas, so she's supposed to be like kicking Donald Trump's behind right now in every category, but she's failing bad, like horribly. And I bet she, like someone said in the chat, or I think someone said on the panel, I think it was Andre before he dropped off, if she ain't got an earpiece, she needs one. I hope this break she go in the bathroom and put one in her ear, because if not, the lips, y'all in trouble. And I pass the mic.
Because there are a lot of people in this country who do not like Black women, but Black women are the base of the Democratic Party.
I'm just saying.
Anyway,
if
so
she
far,
wins,
it looks
she's gonna
like
fucking wreck the market with her tax plans.
Oh, definitely. Just on forecast alone, before she even sets one single policy, markets will crash.
Hey, Hood, how in the world can you say that Trump was weak on foreign policy? That is one of his absolute strengths. This is the first president.
Trump walked into North Korea, bro.
That's what I was about to say.
Foreign policy history, like, and what did you ever do? Who? And imagine being afraid or intimidated by Kamala Harris. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, like, look how Putin intimidated former presidents, former vice presidents. But this dude talked to him or whatever and had him on, like, not on roller skates, but kind of on the back foot, because he didn't know how to take them. You know what I'm saying?
To be fair, I don't like how Obama was president when Putin was around, and Putin didn't give a fuck about no Obama. Let's just put it that way.
Is a fact they caught him on an open mic saying that, hey, just wait until after I'm elected, and we'll work things out. Hillary Clinton was even cozying up to him. Now he's the enemy. They were trying to do deals with the dude. What happened? What changed?
Oh, that World Bank.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, there's a lot of J people that really don't like Putin, and our entire foreign policy related to dealing with Russia is run by 3 J people.
What isn't Russia one of the few, like, large entities as far as countries that doesn't have a central bank?
Well,
correct.
I mean, without even getting into hat related conspiracies, I will say this. It holds steady to a theme of European versus European wars, when Europeans probably have more in common with each other than they do the rest of the world. And so this is an odd moment, an ironic moment perhaps, but it actually tracks with all the other world conspiracies that led up to major conflicts, if you understand, right? But that's kind of the thing here. It's like Trump actually seemed to be, and Putin in his own right, because obviously the world, the powers that be have sided with Ukraine, and we all know Ukraine is basically going to be like, put it this way, the people who are fleeing Israel right now, they want to go to Ukraine, right? Yep. They don't want to go to Russia. And And so you have this situation where like these major European powers are fighting each over something that benefits people who don't like Europe, whether it's the immigration thing, whether it's the Israel thing, and so these events all do track traditional World War history, and it's fucked up because we're not really allowed to speak about it in depth, but shit crazy. Shit crazy.
Everything goes back to the Bavarian Conference.
Hey, I can't wait for the side-by-sides from the debate about the pet stuff. There's a reason why the memes are flying around like, Harry Potter playing Quidditch, man.
First of all, the pet memes are too lit. The pet memes are dope. And I start almost every show with memes. Like for years now, it's been a tradition of mine to do pet memes. And I didn't even pull up a lot of the Trump AI memes, but there are a bunch of memes going around right now. Hey, bro. Hey.
Oh my God, man.
I gotta get in the game. I like to make memes. I don't just like to use memes. I like to make them too, because making things is fun.
Bro, I'm the king. I used to be the king of memes, man. I know G's out there want to beat my ass. I had made a meme, but I'll tell y'all later. But look, that's very devilish of you, sir. You're
tomorrow when they start talking about pets on the morning news, I can't wait. I can't wait for all the pet convo. Let's get back to the debate.
Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150.
Putin just
they should
supported Kamala for president, by the way.
With that being said, I want to get the war settled.
He's a white man for
I know
Kamala.
Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse.
Listening to her
Lead to
earpiece,
World
bro.
War
She
III.
is listening
Don't
to
kid
her
yourself,
earpiece.
David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president?
They caught Biden
we don't
with
even
one
know
last
if he's
time.
a president.
Just about
Threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know.
Where's
is he our
Waldo?
president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
your time is up. Just to clarify the question, do you believe it's in the
Where's
U.S.
Waldo?
best interest
Where's
for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here.
We don't
I
need
actually
Ukraine.
We just
met
left
with Zelensky
Afghanistan and didn't
a
accomplish
few days
anything.
before Russia invaded,
Fuck.
tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American
Russia
intelligence
needs Ukraine
about how
more
he
than
could
we
defend
do.
himself.
We can let them have
Days
it.
later,
It's
I
okay.
went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our
Supposedly
support,
BlackRock is
because
buying
of
a lot
the
of that land.
air defense, the ammunition,
Yeah,
the
they were doing soil
artillery,
samples
the
like a month ago.
javelins, the Abrams tanks
y'all
that we
don't
have
say.
provided,
Along with
Ukraine
Bill
stands
Gates.
as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour.
So I'm supposed to believe
I
she's
wanted to
tougher
respond
than
to
he
something
is.
you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting
Oh,
in Moscow,
Hush
much
your
happier
mouth,
than he
Nick.
is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a
Bro.
thing that other people
Too
don't have. He's
good.
got nuclear weapons. They don't
This
ever
little
talk about
bitch.
that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that, something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you.
Yo,
You bring up
best
something. You
debate
said you went to
ever.
negotiate with Vladimir
Best
Putin. Vice
debate
President Harris, have you
ever.
ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here.
cares.
The president of the
He's
United
the one
States,
talking
the
about not
commander-in-chief,
killing any more people.
and the American people have a right
Right.
to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility.
Hey, I would hit her
in
with the
terms
Gold
of
Star families
ensuring that
rejecting
there
her.
is stability and
Her not
ensuring
talking
we
to them.
stand
Bro.
up for our principles.
Warriors
and we
hate
sell
you.
them
Considered the
for
most
for the
corrupt
benefit
government
of
in Europe.
personal flattery.
You
Yep.
talked about Ukraine and Vladimir
Yep.
Putin. I do
Very
want to talk
corrupt.
about Afghanistan.
That's
It came
why they
up
want it.
in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of
Notice
NATO.
how Trump
He said,
owns
I've
the
never
room.
seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO.
He
We
is
were
being a lot more
ripped off by
specific than she
European
is.
nations, both
Oh,
on
yeah.
trade
No, he's
and on
bolder.
NATO.
He actually
I got them
speaks
to
when
pay
he's
up
not
by
supposed
saying one
to,
of the
and they
statements you
let
made
him.
before. If you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never
And
gotten it.
she's
He
allowing
said
it.
it was one of the most
Right.
incredible
She
jobs
doesn't
I've ever
interject.
seen done.
She ain't got
Thank
no
you. I
choice.
want to turn to Afghanistan. It
She
came up in
doesn't
the
have
first hour of the
balls. That's
debate,
what it is.
and
She
we witnessed
doesn't
a
have
poignant moment today
balls.
on Capitol Hill,
Having
honoring
balls
soldiers who died
matters.
in the chaotic
Where's
withdrawal
the
from
Petite
Afghanistan.
Magic?
I do want to ask
Black
the
Girl
Vice
Magic.
President, do you believe you bear any
Heat magic isn't
responsibility in the
real.
way that
It's all
withdrawal played
standard
out?
turds, bro. It's not real.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day
We
were
just paying it
for
to
that
Ukraine.
endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we
I
got
doubt that.
to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, get this.
You left them in
And
Arsenal.
the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David.
You left them an
place
entire
of
army
storied
worth of
significance
weapons.
for us as
What the
Americans, a
fuck?
place where we honor the importance of American
I mean,
diplomacy,
you
where
got to
we
leave
invite
that
and
area in the
receive
arms of a strong person.
respected world leaders.
Because the people you
And
trained for 20
this
years just rolled over.
former
But
president,
you don't give them
as president, invited
AR-15s
them
and helicopters
to
and shit.
Camp
That wasn't
David
what they
because
talked about
he
with
does
Trump.
not again
Hey,
appreciate
Hood,
the
she doing a
role
bad job
and
talking about jail and letting
responsibility
people out.
of the
Because these
president of
people
the
out who let some people out doing doing his administration. He had pardon how many people from California that was locked up doing that crime bill that was probably put in there by her, and he let out Lil Wayne. Shout out to DJT.
Bro, you can't criticize Trump for like talking to the Taliban when you gave the Taliban the most modern army, the most modern arsenal that they could ever
Yeah,
imagine.
it was like billions of dollars worth of shit.
Yeah, they just had a parade like a month ago.
Yeah, it's like so
With
much shit they
our
don't even know how to
shit.
use all of it.
Yeah, bro, I remember watching them learn how to fly helicopters and shit, bro. It was cute.
Yeah, and we said they wouldn't
Fighting
be able to
force.
do that. Like our officials were like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. They can't use that shit," and they were flying that shit in like a month.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
because
can learn.
man, no, because they had like foreign people over there teaching them to spite us.
And that's how you learn, bro. It's not that. It's just as long as you can learn. And so they'll hire people. They'll probably pay them in heroin or whatever, but they'll learn.
Months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left.
In fact, allegedly they were supposed to get that
$85 billion
airport.
worth of brand new,
They were going to
beautiful
keep the
military
airport.
equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country.
Man.
Mr.
Look at that
President,
face.
you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote,
She
"I
doesn't
didn't
know what
she
to
was black
do,
until
bro.
a number
He's
of years ago
just
when she happened to
you
turn
might as well
black,
pull his
and now
dick
she
out
wants
and
to be
piss all
known
over
as
the
black."
debate stage.
I want to ask a bigger picture
I
question here
think
tonight.
I think she got the
Why do you
same
believe it's
Hollywood
appropriate to
writers,
weigh in on the
that's
racial
Sprite
identity
write
of your
her,
opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I don't
asking,
know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was black that she put out. And I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly,
That's
I think
actually a
it's
pretty good way to handle that. He's like, I don't care.
Someone who wants to be president, who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
They weren't innocent.
Took out a full-page ad.
They beat up people that night.
This is the same individual.
No, they have physical evidence, DNA on that woman, bro. Chill. They were in that shit.
And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other.
Notice she did not say she was black, bro. She never said she was black. That's a good call.
Can we please just have discourse
about
black. How we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American
he can't
people.
levy that charge against
Knowing
her.
that regardless
the audience has
of people's color or
He
the
just said he
language
doesn't
their
care. He's
grandmother
not
speaks,
stepping
we all
perfectly.
have the
It's
same
like a
dreams and
bullfight.
aspirations and want a president
that's a good
those,
one.
not in hate and division.
Vice President
Did you
Harris.
visit Hawaii where they had that?
President Trump, this is now the third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
No, you don't.
One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism
Now she's doing the poetry
about what
shit.
we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do.
No, he ain't disparaging
Don't believe your lying eyes that
What's the
everything.
line? What's the line?
Let's
What
talk
has
about
been
our plans
unburdened white?
and-
No, what we can
let's
be
compare the
unburdened white. What
plans.
has been.
I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan
About 4
that
or
is
5
about
months of rent.
allowing people to be able to
Hey, but
pursue what has been
It's like
fleeting in terms
$1,000
of the
more than
American
JD Vance's
dream
version.
by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of
Houses
conversation,
for
I believe,
illegal
David,
immigrants.
that people really want tonight,
Yeah, she
as
shouldn't be
opposed
doing
to a
any of that shit.
conversation that is
Yeah,
constantly about
most people couldn't
belittling
qualify for that
and
25,000 assistance.
Let's turn the page
Vice
and
President
move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's turn
Trump,
back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump,
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move on
to
to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsey,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump,
president has said
no, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
gonna
just need to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said.
Somebody
Trump,
in her
this is now
earpiece
your
told her
third
to
time
fight
running
back.
for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain.
Did he say bad
I had a
ones?
choice to make.
No,
Do I
bad
save it,
ones.
make
Oh,
it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still.
And shout out to Akul Kamasi with the $5 cash app for the 718. Thanks for supporting the show, bro. Appreciate y'all watching. Thanks for watching all day. I've been streaming for a while now. Appreciate y'all for being here with me.
I need that money.
Do that, and you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then
That's
this
like
business
a
about
big
taking
bring up
everyone's
all-
guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's
A
guns away. So stop
mandatory
with the
gun
continuous lying
buyback.
about
What
this
is that?
stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, let's just
Mandatory,
look
that's
at the
what it
history
is.
to know where people
Yes,
stand.
it's
When Donald
compulsory.
Trump was
Like
president,
it's not
60
optional.
times he tried to get rid of
People
the
with
Affordable
guns will
Care
take
Act.
your guns.
60 times. I was
Yeah.
a senator at the time.
Yeah, they'll give you like
When
50
I will
bucks
never
no
forget
matter what you
the
got.
early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate, and the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged
Great John
as
McCain.
being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the
Wasn't
Senate
this the
floor
same
and
guy that
said,
was just like
"No,
George
you
Bush?
don't.
I mean,
No,
exact
you
spitting
don't. No, you
replica.
don't get rid of the Affordable
You
Care
notice
Act.
all
You
the
have
old
no
Republicans
plan.
support
And
Kamala
what the
now. Isn't that
Affordable Care
weird?
Act has done is
Yeah, because I mean
eliminate
they're all
the ability
warmongers.
of insurance companies to deny people
Hey,
with
kill your
pre-existing
babies and get your sons killed overseas.
You remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass his
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
She made
of
a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years, but it wasn't only him. It was all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money, but she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard
my
to the
God,
environment,
man.
you say that we have
Like,
to
not
have
a top
clean
10
air and clean water.
issue in the
Vice
election.
President Harris, you call
It's
climate
really not
change
even
an
an issue.
existential
It's-
threat. The question
Yeah,
to
people
you
don't
both
give a
tonight
shit
is,
about that
what would you
anymore.
do to fight climate change? And Vice President
Polar
Harris, we'll
bears
start
are
with you.
fine,
1
bro.
minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said
Actually, they're
that
doing
climate
well.
change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask
You know we
anybody
have
who
like
has
weather
been
machines, right? We
the
make
victim of
earthquakes and
what that
tornadoes
means in
now,
terms
right?
of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually
Shout
deal
out
with
to
this
Hart.
issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost
Opening
manufacturing
factories around the
jobs.
world.
And I'm also proud to have the
Yeah,
endorsement
when you
of
outsource
the
the
United Auto Workers
jobs.
and Sean
How are you
Franklin,
opening
who
factories
also
around
know
the
that
world?
part of
The fuck
building
does
a
that
clean
mean?
energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're
He just
selling
pled guilty
our
to
country down the
not
tubes.
registering as a
President
foreign
Trump, thank
agent.
you.
Thank you.
We'll be
Man,
right
he
back with
dropping
closing
gems
statements
like
from
an
both of our
authentic
candidates in this
jeweler
historic
right
night,
now.
this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Yeah, Hunter just pled guilty, and is trying to get a lower sentence because he's
He's
like,
gonna get pardoned no matter what. His daddy's not gonna let him go to jail. Before
oh, I
Joe
mean,
Biden,
I
the
don't know
very
if
last thing he does is sign that pardon on his way out.
See, but he hasn't gone through the gun charges yet. He's going through the foreign agents, the FARA stuff. You know, registered as a foreign agent.
He pled guilty to the FARA stuff, not the gun stuff.
Yeah, but the gun stuff, I don't know if that's going to happen before his dad's out of office.
That might be an issue. We'll see.
Hey, what'll be really funny though is Hunter Biden be the case that gets rid of background checks for all guns. That will be ironic.
Hilarious.
Look how they run anti-Trump like quotes during the half, like the break.
Well, the whole media, everything except for Fox News is anti-Trump, and Fox isn't even all that, you know.
But it's like, why do these people get to moderate the debate? You know, like,
well, because that's the only thing that would be even allowed is because you know Kamala's not going to go to Fox News, and that's the only place to go. It's either Fox News or like the One America Network. Some of these like way.
Oh no, she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. Anything that's like even tacitly like, you know, lukewarm on Trump, she would not go anywhere close to that.
I just don't see how people can watch this shit and not see how fucking rigged everything is.
Right. And that's the thing for me. This is why I was almost not even going to watch it all. Because, like, you know, I don't watch regular TV and news and all that stuff. What the hell am I watching this for? But now that I did watch it, it was entertaining for entertainment's sake. I'll give it that.
SNL's about to make a bag off of this on Saturday.
I mean, most of the jokes don't hit like that.
I can't wait till they start talking about the Haitians eating dogs. Everybody's going to act like it's not real. And then somebody's going to come up with videos of Haitians eating something. And then they're just going to be like, oh, well, it's real.
Well, they already got the think pieces about, oh, it's really not that bad. And it was like a 2-week process from, oh, that's not really happening to, you know, maybe it's just a little bit to, oh, you know, it's white supremacists, not the.
Well, no, that's what they said. They say you guys, you eat duck too, right?
So PBS just put out a hit piece on that about how it was all fake and everything else, and how Haitians make better workers than Americans, and they don't do anything wrong, and they have lower crime rates, and yada yada.
Apparently, the whole world is harder working and less criminal than every single American. Free Zone, man, what's going on? Get in here before the debate comes back on, man.
What's cracking, Free Zone?
What's good, y'all? This is a complete shit show, man. It's
Ain't it though? Ain't you enjoying it? You just a cynical guy.
Man. Yeah, bro. I done made $200 off the debate, so I'm cool. I'm chilling.
Oh, what was the bet? What was the bet?
It wasn't a bet. You know, I'll be doing trading and stuff. So I.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
Yeah, man. I've been. Long story short, I've been shorting indices markets because I know that the market is finna crash. So I've been catching sales any way I can, and once this shit started, the whole indice market started falling. I got in on it, so that's literally the only reason why I'm watching it, other than the entertainment. But this is
you're not watching the debate, you're watching their money.
Well, it's a shit show, bro. Even to the point of fact checking. I'm like, if you click on those links with that they're dropping, because I was looking at it on the NBC website or whatever, and they're dropping certain. Yeah, bro. But it's the same links that they're trying to tell Trump that they're not true, and it's like come on, bro. You're saying that you're saying that you're bringing all these people into this country and they're not going to be able to vote. That's what you're fact checking, and you're saying that's not going to happen. Get the fuck out of here.
Do you believe that Haitian immigrants have stolen someone's pet and cooked it and eaten it?
Yes. Do I? Are
I'm
you
asking you personally? Yeah. Do you believe that happened?
I can believe that. The Venezuelan stuff, not so much, because I haven't seen anything on it. But the Haitian stuff, yeah, I'm with it.
Outside of Colorado, I think the Chicago shit might be a little overblown, but Colorado seems to be legit.
Allegedly, they took over a apartment building in El Paso too.
Yeah, I did hear something about that today. I didn't really get.
Would you see the one that just ran up in the stands during the baseball game and started stabbing kids?
Hell no! What's that about? I didn't even hear that.
It was in. I think it was in Indiana. They caught him.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that. Let's get back to the debate.
What
Closing remarks.
separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a
That's the
DA, I
ace
was
in
an
the hole.
attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia.
Yo, her energy is all wrong, bro. I mean, not her energy. Trump's energy is just like boss level, and her energy is like mom level. Not even a mom. She's like an auntie. She's like a wine aunt before she actually had a drink.
Hey, Trump turned to Super Saiyan, man. Word.
But he was going ham.
I will say this. I will say this. She did better than I thought that she was going to do, even though she stuck to a script the entire time. I actually did not think she was going to do that good.
Is that a win?
Poetry slam. Yeah, for her it's a win. She didn't have any bad sound bites, so put it like that. That's a win compared to the bad sound bites she's got going around. And she didn't get into any like weird, off kilter kind of speech pattern or anything like that. She didn't do any weird like
Didn't
Valley
laugh
Girl
at
dumb
anything
shit.
for no reason.
Yeah,
Right.
she was
The
on
worst
script
I
like
would
a motherfucker.
the worst I would give her is weird body language. Like when Trump was coming at her, she just had this face like, "Oh, really? Like, yes, really, bitch, you guys suck."
Exactly. You got your ass.
And the fake, like, he would say something and she'd pretend to be surprised at what he said. Like, how could you say that?
I'm like,
I know the play. I know the play.
that was weird, man, with the hand on the face. That's not very good body
Yeah.
language.
They don't turn that
Body
into a
language
meme now.
seemed
Come
weak.
on, man. Guaranteed.
No, like, no. When he said that, he used the "I'm speaking" line basically on her. I was like, damn, man. That was funny. He's like, does that sound familiar?
Yeah, he took
Yeah.
her line. Yo,
I
he
want to
just
know. I
straight
want to
took
know,
her
man. Why
shit.
did Trump bring up the
Right.
95 crime bill, man? Mean that she
No.
wanted to bring up
You don't no, because that's directly to
Uh-huh.
Joe Biden. That's not necessarily
Yeah.
Kamala.
No, we
You
should
gotta
brought
you gotta
up.
He
attack
didn't
her.
prosecute them, though, right?
But
What he
no,
should
no, no, no,
brought
no,
up.
no.
Go ahead.
No,
No,
but
I'm
I'm
just
saying
saying if it wasn't brought up directly, it didn't need to be addressed, I think.
It didn't need to
she
be.
too,
It didn't need to be.
Yeah, not to mention once you start going down those kind of rabbit holes, you start diverting from the main thing. You got to hit on the things that she's weak on, that you're strong on. She actually tried to say that his strength was a weakness. That's
yeah.
crazy.
She
Yeah, it's
said.
foreign policy.
Tried to mention about the housing
Ye-
market of his homes and all that shit. I'm like, most of it was not on him. That was the people that worked for him, like that did that shit. It wasn't him.
The Central
She-
Park 5 thing was probably the best response he could do.
Well, go ahead, Freestyle.
Yeah. No,
why
she
you was
said
Central
something about. I'm paraphrasing. I was trying to find the note, but she said something like tried to make it a bad thing. She said, "You adore strong men, while I care for democracy." And I was like,
Facts.
"Yeah, that's not gonna work."
I meant to say women and the hated it crew.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Bro, yeah,
Now, one thing
had
she
no
did
good
say-
one-liner.
She did. She had one decent one-liner. She said along that same line, because they were pretty much rehashing the same points, right? So you say the same line in a different way. She said, "You care too much about dictators like Putin that would eat you for lunch." I ain't gonna lie, that was a pretty decent line, bro. I ain't gonna hold.
I mean, the line was decent, but it was a line. It's only decent if it's in a vacuum.
Yeah, but it's a
saying
lie.
that about
Yeah.
Trump, right? It's a lie. It's not true. That's what I'm saying. Her saying that about Trump, the line becomes useless now. Because imagine her being, intimidating Putin compared to Trump, who's already been tested and he has solid relationship. And that's another thing. So you want us to criticize Trump for like having good relationships with all these bad guys, right? The world isn't dominated by nice, wholesome guys, right? There are bad men who have like their finger on the button, and you have to deal with these guys, whether or not they're good or bad by your measure. And so you can't fault Trump for being respected by the guys you think are bad people.
Like,
absolutely.
That's
He
why I'm
shut
like, yo,
them
what
down.
leader she's
He
cool with?
shut
Like that?
Iran down. He shut down the whole entire infrastructure. He had he said it. He said he left them broke. He left them like motherfucking Pretty Tony on a motherfucking Saturday in Oakland. For real. And what this bitch do? What this bitch do? She went and funded the little young Turks, the little Migos around the corner with the fucking guns and shit like that.
Yeah, I gotta agree with SKC. Yeah, I gotta agree with that.
Well,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I want to address that head on. He says layup questions, but Trump had to be better. Vivek would have crushed these. The orange man took bait instead of short parries and haymakers. I will grant you, Vivek is way better with the public display, the oratory, and all that. So I'm not gonna really fight that one. I think the issue I have with this comment is that it's not really a question whether or not Trump outperformed Kamala. I don't think SKC would say Kamala outperformed Trump in this debate. I mean, maybe you would. I don't think SKC would dare say that. I think it's almost saying he was good enough, but he wasn't great. And that's a different kind of criticism.
Hey, but you got to be careful with the haymakers, because you remember that debate during the last presidential run where it was like the second debate with Biden. He seemed too out of control, and you have to be measured because the people that like Orange Man are gonna vote for him regardless. But it's the moderates and the women, especially that are moderates, that are like on the fence.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the women,
those are the ones.
speaking of the women, bro, Trump didn't do like he didn't go ham like with the race thing. They tried to play the race card on Trump, and Trump was like, "I don't care." Now, I really would. It would have been better for him to drive the knife a little deeper and saying, "Look, I don't care. It doesn't matter if she's black, brown, or whatever. She's terrible, right?" You had to put couple those two things together. It doesn't matter what she is. It matters that she fucking sucks, right? He had to drive that nail just a bit deeper. He didn't do that, but he did that great, and I think he handled the question. That was like the parry that SKC says he didn't really accomplish. I think he parried that well, because outside of that, I don't know that they asked him any direct like attack kind of questions, because other than that, it was really a policy thing, but there was no issue for him to parry, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was 3 versus 1, right? It was Trump versus Kamala, the debaters, and the fact checkers. Like it was.
Well, old boy said he wanted to do it on air. He said he wanted to do it on air, and he like twice he tried to fact check him like in real time. And I guess in his earpiece they told him, "Hey, stop doing that."
Mm-hmm. Well, the media, like, all right, let's talk about the animal thing for a minute, right? Because I said, speaking of the women, and the women voters, I think a little bit are keen on the animal thing. And this is a gambit. I don't know for a fact. I'm suspecting, but
why?
Trump throws out the animal thing.
Why?
Because girls like cute little animals.
Yes,
and when he says that,
just say it. Rise of dog moms, ladies.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's one thing. I didn't really think about it in dog mom terms and the the lonely cat lady thing, right? But you got all these women I mean, not just women, but your pet is your like family. If you have a dog or a cat, it's hard to treat that cat. Your pets aren't like your slave where you like, carry this wood and shit like that. Nobody in America really treats their pet like that. That's some really like we frown on. We actually imprison people for animal cruelty and mistreating animals and shit, right? And so the idea of Trump mentioning like these Haitians are eating the dogs, or what did he say? He's eating the cats. I forgot exactly how he said it.
The cats and the dogs and the pets.
Yeah. Like once he said that, bro, like people are incensed by that kind of thing. Like the idea that you would eat somebody's pet. And so, now they're throwing the accusations out there, and you got Eric Swalwell crying over the memes and shit. I played that on the last stream. They're trying to act like it's not happening, bro. They want to pretend that it's not happening, and I'm like, I think it probably did happen.
No, but if you look at the Swalwell thing, he never says it's not happening. He's like, he starts pointing to another topic. He talks about how these poor people are coming here in distress. And I'm like, wait, hold on, bro. Was it true? Did it happen?
Yeah.
Did they eat the cat? Did I not watch a video of a chick eating a cat after stomping his brains out? I watched that video. Crazy.
Probably
it's out there, man.
Shit. Hey, on top of that, you forgot the cats marry their dogs.
Hey, you look at that. Look at that.
See?
Ducks and kittens in Ohio because he goes down some crazy rabbit hole, completely debunked that aliens are eating.
Oh, Ted Cruz retweeted another version of Trump running away from the Haitians with a cat in the
Mr. Chairman, because last year for a very long time you tweeted and promoted Kanye West as he was calling for genocide against the Jews, and you kept it up. And now when we have victims coming here, you're tweeting.
Sounds like he's about to cry.
Of what? What are the Haitians victims of?
Because he's a liberal. Can't you see the look on his face? He's about to cry because he's a liberal. He has soy in his blood.
It's definitely a domesticated face.
Hey, barbecue, man.
For the banana in the dual tailpipe.
In the dual,
dual exhaust.
Dual exhaust.
It's like, dude,
black progressive
like,
niggas.
Oh, I'm literally setting the trap. I'm watching you put these
like the video, y'all. Like the video. We just freestyling now.
And literally
Man, it sounds like a morning drive, man. The motherfucker laughing.
This is like Black Morning Joe.
So, just really looking at this and breaking this down from a substance standpoint, she had greater substance to what she was talking about as far as how she works. And then from the character standpoint, the character of a leader of one who you want to be president, somebody who's got my back, even if you don't support me.
First off, do you think they really believe that?
I'm with you.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah,
you gotta be able to.
They're lying to themselves, but they believe in themselves at the same time. You see, it's like two mirrors facing each other.
To think that any politician really has your back
in that regard
is nasty work.
Angry.
All the time, like he purposely looked like he was wincing in pain. We was just listening to it, and it's like, bro, listen. All right, so here's the other thing. This is why I keep telling you guys, there is no such thing as a black conservative. There is no such thing.
What the fuck, black conservatives got
all that conservative support that was supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's a wild segue.
As soon as Kamala Harris and Tim Walz came on the fucking ticket.
Yo, this nigga been a hater for so long, bro. I feel like I did this to him, bro. I know I had a hand in doing this to him, bro.
That's just what we
you broke his brain.
People don't remember the beef we had, bro.
Like, I don't think there's going to be another.
Hey, we used to call him the nigga from the future.
The only debate that may happen is the one in October with JD Vance and Tim Walz. They will not let you back on a debate. They didn't want to do this one. They did not want to do this one. Trump hurt himself in this debate. There is no question about it. It's just, and you can't even say that like the moderators did such a good job. Like Trump got the last word.
SKC was 100% spot on, free zone.
Well, they weren't being fair. It's like, and they actually asked him like, "Oh, President Trump, you said this specifically, like, and you can't really sit up here and deny it." And then, like I said, you got to finish with him on the question. So I don't know. There are going to be tons of memes from this. Her abortion answer was really good. There was another one where she did really well in pivoting when she was talking about like criminality, and she pivoted and brought up his convictions, and he was like,
I swear they judge her on like a retarded curve.
All these cases we went to trial.
Oh my God, that sound like a whole bunch of panel of fucking soy boy, mama's boy, pussy ass niggas.
Nick Cortez had a public meltdown over there.
You know what's wild?
They the Raider hat on though.
They still don't mention a specific point. You know how we were like picking points apart and being like, "Oh, how strong is this?" They're like, "Oh, her stance on abortion." Oh, okay, what's she saying, Nick? What's she saying?
They just like the sound of her voice, bro. That shit's so gay.
Man, that is, man. That's like very
lost over 61 of them. But the bottom line is, like I said, when you have poor character and you're a liar and you sit up there lying and you're backtracking and you're screwing even over the people that you're supposed to be down with you, you can see where this guy was. I mean, this tonight was this was a bad scene. This was a train wreck for him. It was, man. It was a train wreck. It was a train wreck. And a plane crashed into the train.
Dude, you could just look at the
she got manhandled.
Hey, because the train wreck wasn't bad enough. A plane has to fall out of the sky on the train to crash.
It's crazy watching them, listening to them talk about this, right? Because it's like they're describing events that didn't happen. They're describing. It's like they're reading something from an alternate universe.
You said they're Kamala fans. That's what they are. Kamala pussy eaters.
And this is how liberals are on basically every issue.
I know, right? It's fascinating. It is.
Oh, she's great. Oh, she's great. She's wonderful, isn't she? Oh my goodness, like
It's
so
always
exuberant.
vague platitudes.
Be like, oh, and then when you ask for a specific, they can't give you one.
You sure did beat my ass. Shit, why don't we have another one?
That's funny. But like I said, this is a tough one. the vice presidential debate, I think, should ultimately.
I swear to God, man, tomorrow remind me of that man with the yellow hat from Curious George, yo. With that damn
the
VP
debate. Actually,
presidential.
I want to see JD Vance, man, go after Waltz because he's sharp and he's way more articulate and very specific whenever he speaks.
Man, he like Darkwing Duck right now.
I'm definitely not gonna watch that one live stream, so we're gonna have to do that on the clips and the flashbacks. I don't think I have the stamina for that one.
There's probably gonna be more quips in. There's gonna be more quips in that one, Hood. I think.
Nah, Trump's entertaining though. I don't really care for JD Vance. I hate Tim Walsh, so you know.
Trump give you gold, man. Jeez, you can make money over that.
Let me say, he said, I'm speaking. Remember that? That sounds familiar. I'm like, damn, man. Then she tried to hit her with the "you're fired."
Bro,
it just didn't land, man. It just didn't land.
He was just stomping over her the whole time. Like he stole her line. He was just interjecting, like letting us. Can I respond to that? Because this bitch talking crazy. Like, yo, he was just going ahead.
Hey, this is a turnout election.
This bitch is lying, yo.
And he's hoping
correct the damn bitch right here.
Talk a lot of craziness and do whatever and keep a lot of people from coming out. And that the turnout for this will be low. And if it's low, then he's got a better chance. If these people come out in large numbers, he's finished.
That's not true. That is not true at all.
This is going to be. That's at the end of the day. This is what this is all going to be about. Forget about all these polls that you see right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just forget about it, because you have to add in these new voters coming on.
Turnout.
No. You base your numbers off the likely voters.
Yeah, this is going to be
not these fickle
and let me tell
people
you
that put up a meme.
This is a high turnout election. These numbers are going to be off by quite a few points.
Not only is it going to be a higher turnout election, it's going to be a higher turnout election where they have to count all the votes. Remember, Donald Trump ruined the Republican scam of stopping the vote count.
Whose man's is this?
XYZ.
Wait. So Donald Trump stopped the vote count?
Actual provisional ballot.
And that's another thing. Trump brought up the fact that the elections are kind of shaky. He didn't straight up call it stolen, but people said he kind of backed down off that issue recently, and he said no, I was just being sarcastic. You know, this shit's fishy, bro. And so now the stolen election thing is back in play.
Yeah, but the fact that Man of Tomorrow is trying to say that he's the reason why the pipe bust in Atlanta at that arena, but then there's no work orders for the pipe busting.
You have to understand, Man of Tomorrow always say goofy, dumbass shit, man.
Or
right now, he looks goofy. Like the fucking man from Curious George with the yellow hat, man.
or the poster board. The poster board in Michigan.
Yep.
Trump is the reason for the poster board in Michigan, or the fact that they're doing all these shenanigans right now, like
the fact that they
hiring 4-to-1 poll workers.
Yeah, they kicked all the poll watchers out in Philadelphia. Like all these things happen all over the country.
Yeah.
Most people aren't really.
And that's and to me, that's the stuff that's gonna matter in the end, because I didn't hear anything in this whole debate that's gonna turn any voter. I didn't.
No.
If you walked in saying you're voting for this person, you're leaving saying I'm still voting for this person.
Debates right now are like wrestling. It's like a wrestling match. Yeah. Nothing of value is going to be exchanged or lost, but we like to watch the show.
It's more like when you see like T.I. was trying to debate with Candace Owens, and it's like a screen fest, dissing fest. That's what it really is.
There was one thing Trump said that was very funny. He said, because he was talking about Biden, and he said, where is the president? do we even have a president? Y'all,
I was just about
y'all flew him out like a dog. Like,
yeah, bro. Bro, he was hitting with haymakers and body
that
blows,
shit was
bro.
funny.
Hey, y'all, look, some people did change their minds. The ones that was riding with Kamala, maybe the ones that actually got tapped in the back of their head through the hit their lizard brain. They was like, you know what? I don't think I should vote for this crazy bitch. I think I'm gonna ride with Trump.
Nah, I don't think that happened. I honestly don't think that happened.
To be fair, from what I saw, it's hard to imagine that you really were on the fence and then you went for Kamala after this, right? If any minds got changed, it's hard to imagine they got changed for Kamala because she didn't really come out strong. She didn't come out as retarded as we expected her to be. And maybe that's fair because we've been joking about her being retarded, and she's not retarded. She's actually been a prosecutor most of her life, right? But the fact is, she didn't come out strong. She didn't really defeat him in any significant way.
Look, I'm not gonna say she's completely inept, but like I've been listening to Judge Joe Brown talk about her, man, and her failing her bar exam and being like a little bit on the lazy side, and then like if you extrapolate that and put it on top of the the rumors about and not just the rumors, but like because there's like rumors about the staff and how she treats them, but like look at the turnover rate for her assistants wherever she's been. Like I'm talking about like it's crazy. It's a
like
crazy deal.
Basically.
Yeah. Is she that big boss chick? Is she that boss chick that everybody's worried about with?
Oh, speaking of which, man, like old girl got on what CNBC or CNN and was talking about she would never work for a black like a woman again. The black bald headed chick. Yeah, she got transferred to Kamala's joint when she became the VP from Joe Biden, and she's like, yeah, I ain't doing this no more. I ain't work for no women. And
let me share one last video with y'all before we get up out of here.
He's a robot, notorious for his flamboyant lifestyle. Flashy clothes, fancy parties, fine women.
Are you his daughter?
She was fine.
Yeah, we got you. Got her back in the day.
Look at that look. Look at that look. Look at that look.
I did working hard with me getting some dudes hard.
Look at that look.
All for the money.
Hey, but she knows she can't. She knows she can't wig out though, man. She can't wig out.
Hey, yo,
they asked her if that was his daughter, and she's like, "No, I'm not his daughter." And then she kept it a buck because the media wasn't going to be all that into it.
Well, you find the videos with her and that other chick and Montel Williams.
Wait. You mean to tell me that Willie Brown got away with something that a black man would get crucified now? He fucking a light-skinned chick that's outside of his race and nobody's saying nothing about it?
And he was married back then.
Yeah. Kamala was the other woman. Kamala was the other woman, but Trump having an affair is like, the ultimate deal breaker.
Exactly.
No,
I'm not promoting that. That's not good.
I got one better. Everybody want to criticize Donald Trump for supposedly messing with a supposed porn star almost 30-some years ago, paid her like she was a fucking streetwalker, supposed to wipe it under the table, but yet we have Bill fucking Clinton getting fucking knowledge in the Oval Office, got DNA, what's the name, put on the nice little business suit for little Monica Lewinsky, but nobody want to talk about that, liberals.
And she's not black, by the way. But anyway, I want to end this. I want to end it right there. I'm just looking at her face. That is not a black woman's face. You are an exotical foreign woman. Anyway, listen, I've been streaming for several hours at this point, and I really do want to get out of here now. I got to go get something to eat and go to sleep. So we're going to wind this thing down. You guys have a great night, man. I appreciate y'all coming up here with me. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody who watched all the streams tonight. Appreciate y'all for supporting the shows. But we do have to go. It is still a weeknight. I got to get up out of here.
Once the stream is over, salute Hood, salute to the chats on both streams, and we out, yo. What it is on Hood?
Peace, y'all.
It's done. It's done. It's done.